Hey, it's your pal Sully. I think it's time for baseball to think of a new way to celebrate the game at the halfway mark. And I think they could do it with an entire week of mid-summer baseball glory and not involve an all-star game.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is to leave a comment right down here on the YouTube page. I read those comments. I do my best to respond to them. Windy day here in glorious Palo Alto, California. Hey, I was thinking about the middle part of the baseball season. Baseball needs a break in the middle of the year for the players, but also for the fans. The process of following a baseball season, 162 games, the ins and outs of the season, you need to have little moments to break it up, kind of like an intermission at a show. You can't just say, okay, we're going to go 162 games without a rest. You need to have the occasional, benchmark. You need those little moments where you can, have your moment to catch your breath. Now, I have been an advocate that you don't have a midway point. You have a 1/3 and a 2/3 mark. You take a break right after Memorial Day and right after the 1st of August, or the first weekend of August. You have two specific points where you can have a little bit of a respite, but also a little goal. Say, if we are contending by this point, or if we're contending by that point. And I think it makes for a sensible break in the season. But I also know that's a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Radical departure for how our baseball season is organized and is covered. We've been having a break pretty much, not at the exact halfway mark, but roughly the halfway mark in the middle of July. And that is, of course, the All-Star break. And that's so ingrained in our baseball culture over the last few generations that you hear things. It's like, try to be contending by the All-Star break. If you don't have a winner by the All-Star break, then maybe that's when you should start trading away players. Blah, 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 blah. All that different sort of stuff. And that's part of the game. And of course, you're voting for All-Stars along the way, and you have the game. You have the All-Star game at the midway point, which is the big, huge star and spectacle with all your stars and everything like that. Well, I've been an advocate for many years, besides this divided in three. I've been an advocate, and I've said this on this program, I've said this on multiple programs. I've been shows where I've been a guest on, that I think the All-Star game should not be at the midway point of the season. I think that should be how we start the season. And again, this is nothing new. If you've been following my show, whether it's this show or the old Sully Baseball show, you know I've been advocating this for years. I want to have the season begin with the All-Star game. That's where we have a big celebration of all the stars, every team represented. We haven't seen baseball all winter long. And then now, let's introduce all the stars. Let's see them. And for a lot of people, you get to see them in their new uniforms for the first time. And you have some automatic entries, the MVP, the top 3 MVP, the top 3 Cy Young, the top 3 Rookie of the Year, the World Series MVP, the home run champion. We'll figure out who are the ones who get automatic bids. But then you have all your stars, every team is represented. That's how you start the season. And you do so using players' entire stats for the previous year. You're not going to have a situation where Jake Arrieta wins the Cy Young Award but doesn't make the All-Star game because his second half was so great. You're not going to have a situation where Kirk Gibson never makes an All-Star team. I'm tied with Kirk Gibson. You have the entire previous year's stats that you use to determine who's an all-star, who's not, and you wind up having the game be the start of the season. And I do believe that would be a great way to start the season, get everyone excited, get everyone pumped up for it. You play the game, and then and now it's basically let's go. The last few years we've had situations where, you've had the game starting in Korea or in Japan, and it's a great spectacle and a lot of money is made, of course, so it's tough to argue against something where a lot of money is made and a lot of attention is. But it's a strange way to start the season, especially because it usually takes place in the middle of spring training. It's like a soft open. It's like when you see a soft opening for a bakery in San Francisco, and like, oh, well, we're doing this muffin shop, and we're gonna have a soft opening, but the real opening is in 2 weeks. I want a big, splashy opening. I want baseball season to start with the equivalent of the Star Destroyer chasing Princess Leia's ship at the beginning of Star Wars. And that's what the movie is called. It's called Star Wars. It's not Star Wars episode blah, 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 blah. It's Star Wars. I'm old. But with that in mind, I still think baseball needs to have the midpoint break. Baseball still needs to have a moment where the fans, a moment where the players, a moment where everyone can kind of catch their breath for a moment. And I think that's something that I think it's critical. But with that being said, I think there's a way to do it that is a true celebration of all things baseball. You can have a break and still have it be one of the most fun weeks of baseball. You can have, and without sacrificing a weekend of baseball, because I know what that means for the box office, for ticket sales. You need to have your weekends in the summertime. That's when you're going to get your biggest fans. That's when you're going to get your biggest crowds to show up. Hell, you saw, last summer, even the Colorado Rockies were drawing big crowds in the middle of the summer. Now, I'm not going to sacrifice that. But if you have Monday through Friday in the middle of the season, a moment where the teams, with a couple of exceptions, we'll go through that in a minute, have that week totally off, and turn that week into a complete celebration of baseball's past, present, and future, it could be, I think, the greatest way to have a respite for most of the players, a goal to reach for them, and keep baseball on the map in an absolute frenzied pace. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up and college football isn't far behind. It's the perfect time to lock in your season-long, more or less picks for the 2025 seasons, all before week 1 kicks off. Whether you got your eye on a big-name quarterback or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get into the game. Now, if you make a couple of your early picks, like, okay, let's have Josh Allen for more than 27.5 touchdowns. That feels like a solid shot. I know all about Josh Allen, and my preseason picks help me get a feel for how the year could go. It's like a fun warm-up for the full season. Will it be the Seahawks year? Will it be the Las Vegas Raiders year? I got my money on the Houston Oilers. Yeah, I know they're called the Texans now. Now, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, bear with me for a second, because what I'm about to say and what I'm about to propose is a real departure from how we have our mid-season break, but I think it'll be cool. Now, you start what I call the break week. All the teams play on that Sunday. It's after the 4th of July. So whatever the next weekend is after the 4th of July, because there's no way on heaven or on earth that you're going to have baseball teams not try to get that box office on the 4th of July. And by the way, every team's got to play on the 4th of July. What the hell are we doing? It's one of the big holidays of the summer. It's right between the 3rd and 5th of July. It's when our buddy John Adams and his pal Ben Franklin and Tommy Jeff got together and did something kind of cool in Philadelphia. You've seen the musical 1776, and if you haven't, why not? Got to have a baseball game on that day. That's why the founders waited to sign, because they knew we needed a vacation day somewhere in the middle of the summer. Okay, so the first weekend after the 4th of July is the beginning of the break. So you have Monday, then we're going to go Tuesday. I'm going to suggest Wednesday. If it's okay with you, we'll go Thursday, and then Friday. Those days you have off. Maybe not Friday because we're going to want to get that box. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at least, okay? So you don't have games for all but 4 teams. 4 teams have got to take the brunt. I'll explain why in a minute. Here's what you do in those 4 days. You have the following things happen. As I said, we're going to honor past, present, and future. How do we honor the past? You have the Hall of Fame induction during that time. The games are being off. We have all attention paid to that glorious, beautiful town in upstate New York. That town which I've been to, and it is absolutely fantastic. And it's best known for being the place where baseball was not invented. It wasn't invented there. It's complete horse crap. But it's a great story. And you know what? Like the founders, knowing they had to pick a vacation day and a little holiday in the middle of the summer, if you're going to pick a place where baseball wasn't invented, but we're going to pretend it was invented there, you could do a lot worse than Cooperstown, New York. And we have a celebration of baseball's past on that sacred ground. Maybe you could have it on the Sunday, but either way, it's during that time. Let's take a time off to celebrate the glories. And this last year, you would have had the glories of Dave Parker, the late Dave Parker, the late Dick Allen, the late Ichiro Suzuki. By the way, I said Dick Allen and Ichiro Suzuki at the same time, and it came out really good. CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner and all the remaining Hall of Famers who come out there, and all the ones who we pay tribute to, who we've lost since the last Hall of Fame induction. And there have been some big ones, including Ricky Henderson, including Orlando Cepeda, including Willie Mays. And sadly, next year will include Ryne Sandberg, and hopefully nobody else. And we have a great celebration of all the great players of the past and who is being invited into the pantheon of the immortals in that beautiful town of Cooperstown, which, by the way, I found a great 3-bedroom apartment right nearby the lake. Thank you, Zillow. That might be Casa del Sully. I digress. While we're there, we have the celebration, we have the induction, and 2 teams play a game at Doubleday Field. That's right, there's a stadium there. Doubleday Field. You have a game that counts in the GD standings. Now, the 2 teams I would have picked this year would have been Pittsburgh and Seattle. You would have had all the fans up there for Dave Parker. You would have had all the fans up there for Ichiro Suzuki. And the Pirates and the Mariners, they play 1 game up there in Cooperstown. They fill up the joint, and it becomes a great thing. You see the players get to, the past Hall of Famers get to be there, the people there for the celebration, and it becomes, we're seeing Ichiro, Dave Parker, all of them in, and all the Hall of Famers who show up, including Raleigh Figures, who's at all these events, and Ozzie Smith, and David Ortiz, and Derek Jeter, and all of them, they show up, and then we play a game. And the people who come out there, who come up to Cooperstown, get to see a game that counts, that matters, in Doubleday Field. So it's that great celebration. So yeah, 2 teams are going to have to take a brunt and be forced to go to a beautiful hamlet in upstate New York, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And it keeps the baseball palate going. Here's the next thing we do, though. You know, there's all those events that we talked about in terms of a baseball game being played in London, a baseball game being played in Japan, a baseball game being played in Korea, a baseball game being played at the Field of Dreams site, or a baseball game being played in Birmingham in honor of Willie Mays, or a baseball game being played in the middle of a racetrack in a rainstorm where they ran out of food. Play that game in the break as well. It's not an all-star game, but it's like, hey, we just had the Hall of Fame game. Now let's check out the game in Tokyo or in Korea or wherever the hell it is. It's an unusual game. It'll sell out like mad, folks. And for that one team, they have a couple of days to get there, get acclimated, and to come back. Maybe they don't play on Sunday, but you work that out. Hall of Fame game on Monday. Let's just call it the overseas game on Tuesday. That's part of the weekend, the week of celebrating baseball. Well, most of the players get the time off. All right, let's move to Wednesday. What do you do on Wednesday? We've already honored the past with the Hall of Fame. We've honored the present with a couple of games that count in unusual sites. Mix it up a little bit. How do we honor the future? I've got an idea for that. It's a little bit out there, but trust me, it's worth it. Have you ever decided at the last minute to go to the ball game with friends and family? That happened to me earlier this year. I saw the Red Sox were playing the Giants. I was back in town. I said, you know what? I got to go up there. But am I going to be able to get tickets? And do you know what? That's where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch. You know what? I got myself a plastic cup and a Giants hat and a Giants shirt for my son. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the apps actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals. I got a great one at Oracle Park, and I got clear seat views and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. It's the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, and it makes it easy to browse the app for an exciting big league game. I'm going to be going to the Giants-Dodgers when I head back down to L.A., and instead of just endless scrolling trying to find the best seat, Gametime has these zone deals, which shows you the section you want to sit in. I like to sit the second deck up, a little bit up the first base line. That's my favorite view when I'm at Dodger Stadium. However, when I'm at Oracle Park, I like to be able to sit where we're facing the right field, where I can see the ball headed to the bay. And do you know what? They get the zone, they get the seats. And you get a seat view in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to be. So you got to take the guesswork out of buying tickets online with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. They're guaranteed. We've got this week that I'm celebrating baseball in the middle of the season. And it makes sense to me. It should make sense to you. Hall of Fame game, unusual place. How do we celebrate the future? Do what we do on that Wednesday? I'll tell you what we do on that Wednesday. The draft. That's when we hold the draft. We hold the draft. Maybe hold it in freaking Cooperstown. The hell do I know? But you have the draft then. All of a sudden, if you're a baseball fan, and we've been talking a lot, and we've been seeing here are my favorite players, and here's some games that matter now. But who's going to be in the future? Who's the first round overall pick going to be? Are they going to be a future superstar like Bryce Harper? Is it going to be a swing and a miss like, Matt Bush? What's it going to be? Here's our draft. And you can have all the attention. That's your baseball attention for that day. You want to get people into it? You take away some of the distractions. You have the draft on that day. And this is where it gets really, really, and did I mention, really out there. On that Thursday is the trade deadline. That Thursday is the trade deadline. You don't have the lunacy of a player being pulled in the middle of a game because of a trade, this or that. You have the people have gone back to their homes, relaxing, and then on that Thursday or Friday, however we map it out, that's when teams have got to make their big moves. That's when you got to say, all right, when we come back from this, we got to make the big trades. And rumors of trades are going to be going that whole GD week, along with the draft, along with the game in Tokyo, along with the game in Cooperstown, along with the the induction of Sabathia and Wagner and Parker and Allen and Ichiro Suzuki. Like, oh man, no, but this team's going to do this team's going to do that. You force a team to make that decision, and that they have those players on the team for roughly half the season. So it's not always just like, oh, they were there for the final couple of weeks. Teams have got to make those decisions. Yes, some of the players get a respite, but the front office has to be working on full throttle. So you have on that day, there's no game going on, but holy Billy Joe Robideau. What are we doing here? What in the name of Cisco Lascano is going on here? What are we doing in the name of Razor Shines? How many more obscure 80s baseball players can I pull out? Probably a few more. What in the name of Gino Petralli is going on around here? I got at least one or two more. What in the Kevin Elster is happening? He's not that obscure. What in the name of Roger LaFrancois? By the way, if you do Immaculate Grid, keep Roger LaFrancois in your back pocket for if you need a Red Sox player, if you need someone who's caught one game, someone who has a career batting average above 300, batted 300 in a season, and played for one team their entire career. Roger LaFrancois played in like 10 games and batted 400. He's the gift that keeps giving in the Immaculate Grid. I digress. You have a full weekend of all those events happening. And you get baseball celebrated for a whole week. And the players rested up with the exception of the one game in Tokyo and the one game in Cooperstown. And then it's only one game. And everyone else gets to go back and get themselves back in gear. You do that in lieu of an all-star game where the stats are who had the best April and May, and no one's really trying to win the GD game. Actually, I like this year that they had the home run swing off at the end, because at least that was a little bit different. It would have been nice if it included Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, but they cared so little about it that by the time the two managers, by the time Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone were looking around going like, who should we get to do it? Shohei? Oh, he's already in the hotel. Aaron Judge? He's at the movie theater watching Fantastic Four. They didn't care. Well, have it at the beginning of the year and do all these things in the midpoint. Before you start talking about the tradition of the All-Star game and this, that, and the other thing, the All-Star game was created in the 30s. It's not even 100 years old yet. It's supposed to be a one-off thing. It was taking place at, I think it was the World's Fair in Chicago, or a big, huge fair in Chicago, that they were going to have the best players in the American League and National League play as part of an exhibition. And it turned out to be so successful they tried it again. And there was a couple of years where they did 2 All-Star games. I'd be for 2 All-Star games, one at the beginning of the year and one in the middle, if that's what they want to keep doing. But I think my plan is better. You have a weekend of all those things to celebrate baseball. You have a full week of that. And players rested up. You get your taste for 2 games that were played. Players inducted into the Hall of Fame. Players drafted who might be future superstars. And you do that by giving most of the players in baseball a much-needed respite. And you make it a celebration of all elements of the game. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a better way to celebrate baseball at the midpoint than just having the All-Star game and then a lot of nothing, a lot of dead air. Tell me if you agree with me. Tell me what do you think you would tweak. I'm spitballing here, but I think it hit me like a Randy Johnson ball hitting a bird during the All-Star break. That's when you should go to the exotic location. That makes more sense than the beginning of the year, and you still have the game count. And then you have the draft. Then you have the induction. Then you have the trade deadline. You have a week of glorious, intense baseball discussion, thoughts, arguments, checking social media like a lunatic. And then back to the best part of the year, the end part. Tell me what you think. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what you don't like about that and what you do and how you would make your adjustments to it. And leave the comments right down here on the YouTube. And thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Check out some of the other great shows on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All your favorite teams, not just in baseball, but in football, basketball, hockey, college sports, and all over the map. Well, give it some thought. Talking about the middle of the baseball season and a way to make it a true celebration of the game and all facets of it. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.